For those of you all tuning in just now, my name is Nick Evans. I'm the host of this Christmas preview today on the Harry and David channel, and I am joined by Matt Borman. He is the VP of Orchards at Harry and David. Crazy title. I love that. I almost think of you as like a tree whisperer or something, right? Like, so
I have to talk to trees, that's for sure.
I bet. So Matt, I wonder if you could just start off by kind of talking a little bit about how you joined Harry and David and how you got to be VP of Orchards, because that's a really cool job.
Sure. It was. I came to work for Harry and David back in March of 2000. Was educated in Sacramento, family farm there, orchards. The opportunity came up, and I moved here with my family. At that time, I actually started as a supervisor for one of the orchards, and so since that time, I've been a horticulturalist for about 10 years, and then after that, just started to, after seeing the whole picture, and when you farm something like Pears that has a history as long as ours, you don't learn everything right away. And so it took a while.
Oh yeah, I would. I would imagine every year's a little different. So
you know what? Normal is a fallacy, right? It's just somewhere in the middle of all the different things you've seen, right? So, but
yeah,
here
that's
I am.
awesome.
I've been in this role for about 3 years now. So.
That's awesome. I love it. Obviously, the seasons are changing right now. It's fall. Fall is actually my favorite season. I love the changing colors. I love cooking with fall ingredients. It's sports season. It's just it's a great time of year. Is there anything particular about fall that you like?
So, as a farmer, so for 30 years, I've been harvesting, at the end of summer and the beginning of fall. And so fall has a meaning for me. It's kind of the completion of a year's work, right? So, we just finished bringing in the harvest for the pears. And so at this point, I'm a little bit of licking my wounds and trying to reconnect with family now that harvest is over. But it's also that feeling that, we made it again. So there's this sense of accomplishment, at least for me. So, and to your point, so many things we grow, they come to fruition as the fall starts. So whether you're, the harvest, it's just nice to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there, so harvest generally happens kind of around this time, obviously, but is there anything you do throughout the year to prep for this? Obviously, it's a huge time of the year. So what kind of prep goes into that?
So we'll actually start prepping again on November 1st, right? So my year is a little different than everybody else's. So and obviously to raise a crop that you harvest in 5 weeks, which is what we do.
Oh wow, okay.
There's many steps, right? So there's 1,700 acres here of tree fruit that we have to prune, irrigate, protect from disease, frost nights from March to May, irrigation, that all goes into, in some cases, we thin the fruit out to make sure everything gets its space, its right number of leaves, and all kinds of prep goes into that pre-harvest, and then it's on, right? Once harvest starts, that's what it's about. So.
Yeah, it's so funny. I have a neighbor a few houses down, and they have a pear tree in their backyard. And a lot of times when we're walking around the neighborhood, the kids will always their pears will be falling on the sidewalks, and they'll be wanting to pick them up, and we know them, so we can grab a few out of the yard. But it's always, I can never tell when one is ripe, when one is perfect. Sometimes they're mushy. So how do you know when these are ripe for picking? Because they always arrive perfect. They're all perfect.
Well, so much of it comes, I guess many people don't realize that a pear is not a pear, a peach is not a peach. In the sense that there are many varieties, many qualities, right? And so the one in the yard down the street may be a summer pear, and so it tends to ripen on the tree, and you want to get it as it starts to turn color. For
Yeah.
the Royal Riviera, it's a fall winter pear, and that's where some of the magic comes in, right? We harvest it mature, but and then put it in cold storage, but not ripe. And then magically on your counter at home,
Ah,
it finishes that process. And that's why it's perfect for that holiday season. Where our
right.
peaches, and we have 80 acres of peaches, we wait till those get closer to tree ripe, right? So they're just about too soft to send to folks, and then we pick them. And so it really just
Wow.
depends on, and that's where the experience and knowing what you've got plays a role in how you get the best out of it. So
Now, I think I read. I mean, pears are obviously one of Harry and David's original products, and I know you all have been farming them, harvesting them for a long time. Like I mean, like 80, 70 or 80 years, I think, right?
not me personally, but yes, the
Right.
company.
Yeah. The company. Right. But I mean, has anything changed over that 80, or even in your tenure while you've been there? Has anything changed? I'm sure things have changed technologically and.
It has. It's a constant evolution. Although the age of our orchards right now, the oldest blocks were planted in the 50s. The youngest blocks, we just
Okay.
planted one last year, and so every time we do that, we're investing sometimes 40 years of hope and expectation in that particular block. And so we take the current understanding, our education, what we know about the soils, the water, what the climate's doing now, and we make decisions on how to plant that. But the one of the things that's changed along with the technology is just monitoring our environment, right? So irrigation, which we require here on the West Coast, most of our irrigation
Sure.
is automated so that we can control it. And it's such a precious resource, as we all know, that using it wisely there's no other choice. We have to, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
the
Yep.
technology there, and we're mapping our canopies now using something akin to radar so that we can see how big our trees are, how small, where our spaces
Wow.
are. That's a new thing just in the last 2 years. We're not even sure how we're going to use it yet, but we're vested in finding out how to best do that to be as environmentally responsible, but also as good as we can be at what we do.
Wow, that's really crazy. I would love to see that map, just like the drone coverage of the pear orchard must look so cool.
It tells you a lot, especially during the fall when the colors are changing. So it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah. So I mean, we talked about the Royal Riviera pear a little bit, but I mean, it is one of Harry and David's most popular gifts, I think. And what makes it so unique from other pear varietals?
So I think because the camise itself and the Royal River was first identified, I guess, as a variety in mid 1800s, right? So it's a very old variety, and even by the turn of the century in 1900s, it was very difficult to grow, and so many growers
Wow.
started to get away from it, thinking that it would be easier to be profitable and productive using other varieties. But it hung on because of its superb eating quality. And so when you eat into a camise, when you've had one for the first time and you get that smooth, buttery, what you have is you have um, a taste and I guess a quality that you just don't find. But to get that, you have to work really hard to get it. Right? The trees themselves don't
Yeah.
like to produce. The pears are kind of difficult to handle to make them look as beautiful as we do in the box. And so
Yeah.
it's that eating quality.
That's awesome. I love it. I want to talk a little bit about eating pears because they're one of my favorite ingredients to use this time of year. I use pears in two ways, just constantly throughout the fall. If they're perfectly ripe, I like to make like a galette with them, kind of like a French pastry where it's kind of rustic and you slice them and then you fold over the crust and it just has a nice rustic feel to it. And the pears kind of like they just kind of melt in there. And when you cut a slice, it's just like this buttery pie layer that is so beautiful and perfect. And I just love using them like that. I also like if they're a little bit, you know, crispy still, like not perfectly ripe, maybe a little bit pre-ripe. I love them in salads. Like I'll sliver them up and add them to a fall salad with pecans or walnuts, and we eat them all the time around my house. So are there any special traditions you have about eating pears or ways you like to cook them?
Nick, it's a little bit tough because I spend so much time with the pears all year long that I think although I love fresh fruit and I love the camise, I am partial to eating them just like a pear. I don't do as
Out of the
much
box,
cooking.
just
That
yeah.
if you push on the neck and you know it's ready and you slice it up early in the morning, it's a wonderful piece of fruit. And then obviously for me, it's about sharing them because I know where they came from. I know how hard it was to get them to people. And so I like to watch others cook and share with them.
Absolutely. So when should we have some people commenting that they're so excited to get their pears? When should people be ordering these so they get them? Is there like a date range? When's a good time to be ordering these?
Yeah, so I think that from an ordering perspective, it's once they're offered, you can put in your order, but they won't be ready, right? We can't.
Okay.
Harvest this year
Yeah.
started in mid-August, and so it'll be closer to the end of September before they've gone through everything they need to go through to be able to ripen appropriately for folks who purchase them. So late September, or I believe even early October.
So people should get their orders in for sure. Yeah. That's great. That's great. Well, is there anything else you want to tell us about pear season this year, Matt? I'm super excited to get my boxes and dive in.
No, I think anyone who hasn't had one before needs to give it a try. It's a unique experience, and it really is a special piece of fruit. So, and obviously knowing who it comes from and what we do to make it happen always helps. It seems to add something to it when you know where it came from.
Yeah, and I would also say they're great. We always get a box just for ourselves, but they're amazing gifts too. People love getting a gift if it's kind of an unexpected treat. Just a box of perfectly ripe pears is really a wonderful gift. If you have somebody who, you feel like maybe they kind of have everything or you don't quite know what to get them, sending them a box of really delicious fruit is super special, I think.
Agreed.
All right, Matt. Well, hey, thanks for hopping on with us today and talking a little bit, giving us some expertise about pears and all the wonderful things you guys do at Harry and David there. So we are going to be doing this again in a few weeks. Just a little preview for all the viewers who are watching. We are going to be talking about some of Harry and David's best holiday gifts. So we're going to be going through some lists and give you some great gift ideas if you are at a loss for the holiday season this year. So yeah, thank you, Matt, for joining, and I hope you have a great week.
You too, Nick. Thank you very much.
Yeah, see you all soon. Bye.
Take care.